Well, you're back from Christmas. Hopefully you're full, fat, and happy, and now you want to talk some Chiefs. That's what we're doing. Welcome back to RGR Football. Tonight is your Q&A. You're driving the bus here. Dan and I are just along for the ride. It's like falling off the little avatar bird thing. Like I'm barely hanging on to the reins. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. Hope you guys are doing well. We are going to get into everything that you want to know about and we want to talk about following that last game against the Seahawks. And honestly, what I want to just preface the show with is where they're going and how, yes, it was an opponent that probably gave it the best fight they could, but you're now facing a Broncos team with an interim coach and, quite frankly, should be something else to take the momentum up another notch. We're going to get into all that and your questions tonight. If you would like sub and hit that bell, become part of us here at RGR Football, or otherwise known as Rogue Nation. You can get into the Discord, too, if you become a member. You can go check it out at the Discord address that we'll put up here in a little bit. Our fearless mod, Aaron Morrow, is in the house. Looks like a lot of our regulars are here as well. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. It's an ongoing party here at RGR Studios West. So we have a lot of interesting things going on. You might be visited by some of your old favorites and maybe even a couple of new faces tonight. So welcome to Avery and everybody else. We will get into it. But Dan, upon reflection and, full of a nice prime rib that I saw you put out on social media, well done. Did it change perspective on this last ball game against the Seahawks?
When you let it digest, I think that, the Chiefs, I still think have a bugaboo about them. They don't like to execute well. I won't say well, consistently. Okay. Because we know that they can definitely execute well and they like to, but the inconsistency in their offensive execution is something to monitor. Okay. Yes, they can win games without having to, and it's nice not to. But against better opponents, execution on the offensive side will get you. It will. That's just a fact. So something to monitor. We'll see if the next 2 weeks they can continue to try to amp it up, or maybe they just say we're going to come out guns blazing in the postseason. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen on that side. But what I want to focus on is the defense. And I'm going to do my whole video whenever I get all 22 NFL. All right. I know you're probably just holding it back because you don't like Ryan and I using all 22 for some reason, whatever it is. I don't know. But whenever I get it, I'm going to go over the defense and how something clicked this week. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm really excited about this one. This might be my most in-depth defensive breakdown that I've ever done. So we'll see how it breaks down as soon as I get that film.
It's about time. I'm really interested to see if you got the same big takeaway that I got. So, folks, if you don't know this, behind the scenes, the film work in particular, Dan does his own thing, I do my own thing, and then we compare. This isn't a group effort because you want as many eyes on a given set all 22 as you possibly can, because there's always all kinds of little things going on in there, and that's quite frankly how we get a bigger picture of some of the things that they're lacking. Thank you guys for the super chats. They are coming in. One from somebody I know kind of well. She's a bit of a pain, but she's fun as well. So everybody say hi to Mrs. RGR. She's in the chat. Don't let her bother you with any of my personal stories. It's going to be okay. Beyond that, I want to make sure we had a problem the other night post-game with Teespring. Teespring, the site, had some issues, but it is back up now. That code is still available. It's 7AFCW, and that gets you a discount on everything in the store that I can show you here because there's some cool stuff. We do have the Rogue Nation hats now. Obviously, we own the West for the 7 consecutive, hence the 7AFCW code, as well as a couple of new things. One that I'm wearing tonight, the RGR hat there with the shield, as well as Trooper. Nice. We got beanies, and then we have Dan's show shirt. You can always get that as well. Because if you want to take a side and you think Dan's takeaways from film are better than mine, then hey, show it. let's see it walking around town because I want to hear it. There's a lot going on there, and Mrs. RGR might even get something a little bit special that way. We'll see. Anyway, tonight, let's start with your questions. Tyler, you're the first one up. Do you think that the Broncos get a head coach fire bump this week, even though they seem to have quit on their quarterback and not their head coach? It's interesting that you say that. I have one takeaway that I actually find as a positive for the Broncos, something the Chiefs need to keep an eye on. But what did you take from the whole fiasco that was yesterday's ball game and their firing of Hackett today?
There were two things that they had to deal with: the quarterback situation, head coach. Can't get rid of the quarterback. It's not possible. You can't do it. One thing you can get rid of is a head coach that no one respected. Ever since it was apparent, in my opinion, when you watch that team, no one respects Nathaniel Hackett. Then he goes and has to bring in someone to help him, which I fully respect the fact that he admitted, I can't do this very well. I can't clock manage very well. I can't do it. They bring in someone to help him with it. It does not help. Doesn't help. I don't know if the moment's too big for him, but he is not and will never get another head coaching job. He won't. This will be it. It'll be over. It'll be done with. And that's okay for some people. I think he did a great job as an offensive coordinator in Green Bay. I think he did.
Yeah.
He was good. Some people are just coordinators. That's just what they are.
While I fully agree with you, I do have to say that's exactly what I said about Josh McDaniels 10 years ago. So, like, there is a possibility to come around, and I hope for Hackett's sake that he can learn what McDaniels sort of learned.
One caveat to that is that he worked under Bill Belichick, who everybody and their mother respects. And it took him 10 years and backing out of another head coaching job. Okay. So we'll just kind of put that on the back burner.
I mean, let's get this honest. I'd be happy to ever work for Chris Ballard. I would not be happy to work with Josh McDaniels.
But yes, to answer your question, Tyler, there's always the chance that this team comes in re-energized. I don't know if you guys have seen what they were doing in Denver today. I don't know if this is factual, but this is what I've seen in a tweet. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Let's see where we go. I got to pull it up right here. Right here. Then their interim head coach right now, who is the guy they brought in to help Hackett with the game management, is now their interim head coach. I'm taking away the 6 parking spots from Russ. Yes, Russell Wilson had 6 parking spots for all of his assistants, apparently. I'm taking away his office. Apparently, Russell Wilson had an office that he could access 24/7. He's taking away his team's access to the building 24/7. So all the 6 guys that he would bring into practice every day, they can't get into the building anymore. It's all about the Broncos, not about your quarterback's brand. It's about the we, not the 3.
I feel bad for the guy in the entourage that carries the boombox. You know what I mean? You Todd Snyder fans should know what I mean.
Just saying, there is something going on that's not. It's toxic, and whoever this guy is trying to set a different precedent.
Well, and I will tell you this: what I noticed is the flare up between the backup quarterback, Rippon, who's trying to bite back at the offensive line. The offensive line. Dalton Reisner, you K-State fans know him well, gave the backup quarterback a good shove. Like, there was physical altercations on the sideline. That's never a good thing. But what it does show, there's fire from everything around Russell Wilson. The backup quarterback's trying to back him, trying to help him understand what's going on in the field because he doesn't seem to be able to process film or understand what the team's coming with at him. And there's fire on the offensive line. So the one thing the Chiefs have to work out this week is how to not let that be a seed that grows and let that fire spread. Because if they come in here lackadaisical and give them 2 drives where they're able to move the ball like they did in the second half in the last meeting, there is a fire that could catch, that could spread a little bit. And I'm concerned that without the malfeasance of the head coach being the overriding thing here, if you do let them get hot, if they do figure something out, don't be that team that let the worst team in the league sneak up on you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Good Lord. I'm not even going to get there. If we go there, then we're going to have a whole different meltdown next week, folks. Appreciate you, Tyler, and thanks for the question. Are the Chargers primed for another Super Bowl run? Asked KC. I think they're showing you hints. I personally feel it's too late for them. But if anybody can get hot, it can be the Chargers. Keenan Allen seems to be clicking again. It took, a week or 2, but now he's rolling. Mike Williams always has good games against the Chiefs. It's not necessarily the case around the rest of the AFC, but they can always catch fire. How concerned are you, Dan?
I'm not going to say like I'm too concerned. I will say if it ends up coming to them playing the Chargers again, beating a team 3 times, it's not easy to do. You saw it last year where I think the Saints and the Bucks played, and the Bucks beat the Saints for the first time, it was something like that. It's not easy to beat a team 3 times in a row. So that is the only aspect of that matchup that concerns me. They probably match up better than most teams do against the Chiefs. They just seem to give them problems. But in terms of a Super Bowl run, I don't think that the Chargers are there yet. They have some real problems on the offensive line. Their offense is far too inconsistent. They don't have any consistency in their game plan, in their offensive play calls, and what they allow Justin Herbert to do. Their defense, for some reason, when Derwin James is on the field, is worse than when he's off the field. It's weird. There's some weird things going on there because he's a really good player. Maybe they just move him around too much. Just stick him in one spot and let him play. I don't know, but I don't think they're making a Super Bowl run, though.
Okay. Well, let's keep it that way, in my opinion. Kevin asked, will Hardman come back, push our offense to 60 points on the Donkeys? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, the catalytic converter of this offense is going to be Andy Reid. When you get up 21 points, it's going to slow down. There's no way around it. But I am really interested to see that if McCollum is able to go, and from what I understand, if he'd been pushed, if they'd had to have him, he could have played last time. So let's hope that he's back out there. But hopefully you get him in the rhythm. You show a little bit to get him warmed up. Maybe he can take something for some yak. Maybe he scores. I don't think it's going to be an all-out blitz against the Denver Broncos, who probably cannot push back very well.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
But I'd love to see it. I got to tell you, at the end of the day, that's where it comes down.
Yeah. I'd love to see a little bit of fire. Put some points on the board and get moving. Let your offense click. I don't care how many points you end up putting up in this game, but if you move the ball consistently, I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah, for those of you that have been cold this week, Cole Hardman's cold. Go out there, turn the engine on, let him warm up a little bit. I think that will go a long way.
I like it.
You don't need to rev it. You're not in a hurry. You got time to just let that car warm up. He'll be fine. Scott Province, thank you for your. If you were the Grinch, how would you steal Buffalo and Cincy's Christmas? Well, let's see. Who do you want? You pick one. I'll do the other.
Well, I'll take Buffalo. It's very easy. The Bengals beat them next week. Steals their Christmas for them because I don't expect the Chiefs to lose to the Broncos and the Raiders to end the year, and that would give the Chiefs the 1 seed over the Bills, and then the Bills would have to play in the first weekend of playoff football, which the way they've been playing, they could use some time off, in my opinion. They have been really inconsistent. They've obviously had some injuries here and there. They could use some time to rest up. And Josh Allen could use some time to recalibrate. He's had some interesting things happen over the last last month or so. So that's what I would do.
Well, and they've had a rough go. I don't know when they got home from that game against the Bears. I haven't kept up with them. I've been doing my own family thing. So I'd be really interested to see what that does to their preparation. In terms of Cincinnati, I would love to see T. Higgins not make it on the bus when they need to play their first round game. That's what I would like to see, because I think if you take away T. Higgins, you have the ability to then run a game plan that can take away Jamar Chase. Yeah. And then you're down to Mixon in the run game as well as not to discount Boyd. Yeah. But I think Higgins is the thing that keeps it from being a tenable game plan, particularly for the Chiefs, but for a lot of the AFC field. So that's where I would go. Thanks, Scott. Patrick, hope you guys are doing well and had a Merry Christmas. Who is our biggest scare for the playoffs? Who scares you the most, Dan? Okay. Maybe I've frozen there. So
no, I froze. My connection froze. We're back. All right. Sorry about that, guys.
So who scares you the most in the AFC field or playoffs in general?
It's still the Bengals for me. Okay. And that's not like a scared. It's more of a they have one of the best complementary ways to beat the Chiefs. I think that their defense right now is playing better than the Bills' defense, and I think their offense is better than the Bills' offense right now. I think that they can run the ball effectively. They have the weapons to beat the Chiefs, and they have granted, Lyle Collins being out will do some things differently for the Bengals offensive line, which have been playing really well up to this point. But I think what the Bengals do schematically on defense is best fit to stop the Chiefs in the long term. And I think we've seen the Bills in the playoffs multiple years in a row now, and the Chiefs put up points. That's what they do. So I still think it's the Bengals.
Yeah, and not to discount the Buffalo Bills. No. They are still an extreme team. But I would agree with you. It's just that one of those quirky matchups, team versus team, that the Bengals match up against the Chiefs better in a way that makes them struggle. So I'm with you there. You guys, Aaron, let this fly. If you would, again, like and subscribe if you're not one of us yet. And if you do join the memberships, you get all kinds of bonus content. You get us, saying things that we won't say in public. You also get access to the Discord, as well as over in the store, which if you guys want any of this new stuff, we have some cool things coming. There is a member-specific discount that comes out next week. Post-Christmas is when I always put it out, so you guys will get access to that as well. So it's worth jumping in there and joining the memberships. It's rookie level and above to get access to everything. All you chatters obviously are in here at the base level, and that's always fun. Let's just say some interesting things that maybe we've said on this show before.
Maybe.
Tyler,
Maybe.
Would you rather have McDuffie or Snead follow Judy this week? I'm comfortable with both, but I really want L'Jarius to get into the habit of being all over the field more. So I would prefer it to be Snead.
I was going to say the same thing. If this is how the defensive philosophy is going to change, it has to start again this week. If we don't see it, then we're going to start to be Spags. What you doing? What you doing? You have to get into it. You have to let it happen. And I think that the best way to go about this is to let Snead follow the receiver if that's what they're going to do. Just let it happen every week.
Yeah, and I can see a little bit more zone defense being played this week, knowing that you do have Dulcich that's still a weapon for them. I don't know that Sutton's right from what I saw the other day.
No, not yet.
Seems like he's on the way back, but he's not all the way back. So I do feel like zone might be a little bit more where you can then pseudo travel and break into some funky zones as well. And that just ups the level of what everybody has to prepare for come the postseason. And I'm looking forward to that. Folks, if you're not in the memberships and you want to just go check it out and get in the opening room, in the foyer, so to speak, you can jump there at bit.ly/RGRNation. That'll get you in. So check that out. Great. We have more of our mods here. Cole made it. We're going to have a question from him here in a minute, and we will get there. Just a little note of business. We did do a bonus episode for you guys on the Locked On Chiefs channel. You can check that out, and a full show. And then Matt and I will be doing our normal Tuesday recording for Wednesday as well. See if we get any new information. We answered Tyler's. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you. And then Russ, love that they finally let Snead travel. Will they keep doing it? That's the big question.
Yep. It's
philosophically a step aside from what Spags has done in the past. But again, I think they might have done this a little earlier in the season if McDuffie hadn't gotten hurt.
Yeah.
If he had been able to progress, because he is the B to Snead's A, in order you can have guys flip all over the place. And you notice when we talked about him practicing in the nickel in camp, that's what allowed that to happen, because you're not just switching outside corner for outside corner. You're switching into the nickel, and that's a different skill set that you have to have.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they do that. And I think if Spags open to changing up some of what he does, that might mean he's open up to changing some other things with Joe Cullen, and that also might save his job. So I'm just saying, don't be surprised if he starts to change a little bit of his defensive philosophy, because today's day and age is a little bit different. I don't know.
It definitely is. That's for sure. Ross, why does Watson get so many snaps? It's honestly, I think, due to the struggles that MVS has in terms of being consistently a guy that you can go to. And so if you're going to swap somebody out, it's most likely that body type for body type, you can get the size there. I don't know if that maintains through the postseason, though.
I wish I knew. I was on 8:10 this afternoon with Sterling for the program. We talked about the same thing. Like, I don't really know. It doesn't make sense, except for what you talked about, the body type, the X receiver-ish. In today's NFL, don't think you really need to have a true X receiver, especially with Andy Reid at the helm. I don't think you need it, but that's neither here nor there. I think the fact that they're both playing, I just think that they're both playing too much. I don't care how many I don't care how much they play in the grand scheme of half the snaps total, but there should be a far bigger rotation here with the more talented receivers. As McCole gets healthier, as Tony gets healthier, I think that will change. But Sky Moore is not getting he's not getting enough targets. He's not getting enough play. He's not getting enough run. So we'll see if maybe they just don't trust him. If it comes down to them just not trusting him, that's a little concerning at this point in the season.
I could see him pumping up here in the postseason, though, and that will definitely answer our question.
Yeah.
Another great question from Tyler. Who's the biggest Pro Bowl snub for you, Snead or Trey Smith?
It's Snead, and it's no offense to Trey Smith. He had a rough patch with injury during some part in the middle of the season. He had some injury problems, and I do think that L'Jarius Snead's play has been doing this a lot. Like, he's been also asked now to cover the number 1 receiver, which I think he did well outside of his PFF grade for this last game. So for me, it's Snead, and that's not to disrespect Trey Smith, who's also been doing this over the last month. He looks to be healthy. He looks to be getting it all back. Every week he's making a key block on a touchdown or laying somebody out. He's healthy, and they're getting him on the move more, and I love it.
Yeah, and that's going to help, particularly when things get colder. Things get a little bit more condensed. I think that's going to help down the stretch. We have a celebrity in the house, folks. Shane Falco is here. Nice to see you there.
My favorite celebrity quarterback.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Which is hilarious because one of the opponent quarterbacks in that movie was my high school quarterback.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. He's the guy who hits the cheerleader on the sideline. Kel Watrin, there's one for you, Kel. What do you think? Do you think there will be some Tony and Hardman packages that they're saving for the playoffs? It could bring a whole new element to the offense that opponents haven't seen, would stress defenses laterally as well as opening everything else up. Do it.
This is exactly what they're doing. Inside the red zone, I think you're going to see a ton of Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney in the postseason, because just like you said, the Chiefs don't want to throw jump balls to MVS and stuff like that. They want to stretch defenses laterally and horizontally, and you can do that when you got 2 guys that can run jet sweeps, and you got 2 guys on the field that can run away from you horizontally. So I do think so. They also want them to get healthy. They want these guys healthy for the postseason, and ever since Kadarius Toney came back, the red zone offense has kind of kicked into gear. It's a little weird, right? Like, they kind of need a little bit of speed to get most of their offense clicking. So you're going to see it definitely in the red zone, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, it's an age-old adage. Speed kills. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Speed kills. Shane, hope that the houseboat's doing well. Hope you're still afloat. Looking forward to it. Thanks for the question. Tell me I'm wrong with this statement, guys. Jerick McKinnon, AFC Offensive Player of the Month.
No.
He should be in the conversation. I don't have any problem with that, Thomas.
At the very least. I mean, you score, 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games? Actually, 6 in the last 4 games, I think. Yeah, he should be in there.
Yeah, it's certainly deserved. I do think there's other competition that is likely, the names that are going to get the recognition, but we'll see what happens. Holly, thank you for the shout out. Nice to see you. Kevin, can the Browns, Broncos, and Cardinals all swap their bust $250 million quarterbacks and save their franchises? A predator, old, broken down, and an injured small person. I will not be surprised when you have, especially the contracts that are so wrapped up and you have so much invested. There is a possibility for one mistake to cover another, and maybe it is just the fresh scenery. The question is going to be, particularly in Arizona, is who emerges to take over the day-to-day. I know they've named a temporary. I know Adrian Wilson is part of that package, is running that franchise. And Adrian, by the way, you should have a package for me sitting on your desk right about now. So let's talk. We'll see what else we can help you get done. But that's a really interesting concept, Kevin. Maybe we do see something like that, because at that point you're talking about jettisoned cap space that you're still in the same ballpark. It's about dead money at that point. Maybe they just bite the bullet, double down, and move some guys around. Britton, would you guys consider doing extended film breakdowns weekly in the members section? And no longer videos don't always perform well on YouTube. No, they actually don't. And we try to do what we can for the members, but our pace right now in season is definitely one that leads us doing more shorter content in the member section during the season. In the offseason, that will be different. So we'll definitely come back around to that. I will tell you this, though. The key things, there's the main playlist is the film room playlist, and it has everything we've done. So if you have a topic we may have covered in the past, I would go back and rewatch the playlist, because there's all kinds of topics there on both sides of the ball. I do get a little defensive heavy, but Dan generally takes a more offensive view. So we do have some balance there. But if not, Britton, definitely let us know what you'd like to see or you'd like to know about. We can try to run those down.
Yeah, I can't promise that I have time during the week to get a longer, like half an hour, 45-minute film room in the members. But if I can find maybe some time this off season, again, we'll try to maybe do some live stuff where it's a little bit easier, a little more fluid. It's just it's a lot more difficult during the season with deadlines and stuff like that. We have prospects now we got to watch. It's all a little bit starting to really get ramped up right now. So I appreciate you wanting more film. Trust me, if I had time to just sit up all day and crank out film content, I would do nothing else. I would do nothing else, and I would have tons and tons of film rooms. But it doesn't work out always that way. But we will definitely be looking into doing that this off season, Britton.
Yeah, and honestly, as we grow and the channel grows, it allows us to have a little bit more time because we can actually not have to produce quite as much volume of content.
Yeah.
So keep spreading the word, keep adding subs. As we approach the 30,000 mark, it's going to make some things easier, and we'll definitely have some programming changes after the postseason, after the draft. So watch out for that as well. Des, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Any answers as to why why Watson is struggling and they don't use Sky and Tony instead of him? A lot of things, like while the positions are interchangeable, you still want the body type in certain aspects, and specifically in certain matchups against DBs, whereas you don't want to allow Tony to get in a position where he's the X on the line of scrimmage against a longer, taller, stronger DB that can disrupt his routes. As we talk about on the defensive side all the time, if you disrupt the routes, you end up helping yourself quite a bit. So that's what they're trying to avoid. Is there more to it than that, Dan?
I don't know about the Watson. Maybe it's because he's playing more now than he ever has in his career. Yeah. He's never played this much before. I think that needs to be said, but also he's actually taking snaps from MBS. There is something weird going on. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about our feelings about MBS, the player, but we don't know the Chiefs' feelings about MBS, the player. I think we're starting to learn the Chiefs' feelings with how Watson is taking some of those snaps. They've played a lot together as well. But again, this past week, I think Watson outsnapped MBS by a good margin. So I don't know. I think that he's having some trouble tracking the football. That seems to be what I've settled on. Downfield, he is a burner. He has speed. But when he's moving, he does not track the ball as well as an MBS down the field. And MBS has drops all the time. So that's what I'm sticking with. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, what did Watson do? 39 to 23 over MBS this last game.
So yeah,
it is pretty significant. Thank you, Des. We'll get a little bit more information as we go along. Tone, did you see Saunders' Twitter rant and then he hinted he might want to leave next year? I have not seen it. I heard there was one. I'm not going to worry about it. What he's going to find is there are bitter fans in every fan base.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's going to come down to, does he get a better offer? He may. We'll see what happens. But I do think there is a market for him to stay. And that also is a negotiation tactic. So I wouldn't read too much into it yet, Tone. Who do we want to win tonight? What do you got?
I mean, the Colts.
I'll tell you this, as long as if the Chargers win, they will get a higher wild card placement, which means the Chiefs won't see them in the first round, which I kind of dig if the Chiefs are not able to overcome the Bills lead. So I don't know. Go for it. Who cares? Give them a false sense of confidence.
Sure. There we go.
Thanks, Bill. Holly, merch question. Do the new shirts run true to size? Do you know my home and the Chiefs tee ran a bit small? I've only got the one piece of each, and mine are pretty much even. So I would say what worked on the first, I would do the second the same size is what I would do. It is a new provider and it is a new blend, especially on We Own the West. You guys noticed that I did finally get a vendor that can go up to 5X, but it is a different base shirt that it starts with. So just tread lightly. And if anything, go with something that you're comfortable in, whether that's a little small or a little big. I just have that in mind when you grab it. Thank you, Holly. Can you put 4XL for the big fellas in the store?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, there's a couple, Jeremy. They go up. The new ones go up to 5X. And let me just double check that is true. The hoodie does not. It is only still up to 2X, but the tees have expanded. So that should be ready for you. And I would appreciate that, Jeremy. Anybody that spreads the word, I definitely appreciate. Des has got another great one. Thanks for the support, Des. What would both of you think of Bieniemy went to Denver? I think that's a good fit for him. I think the area around here is familiar with him. They like him. They want him. I think it would allow him to take what is, I think, a fledgling run game that right now could be better and protect Russ from himself. I think it's as good a place as any.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think, depending on how they want to go about it, I've seen a lot that they don't want Eric Bieniemy. At least the organization prior did not want him as a head coach. Things might change now. Also, you have to remember, a lot of times head coaches are cyclical. This guy was an offensive head coach the last time. They might go the opposite way, go back to a defensive coach. They went defense to offense, didn't work out. They might go offense to defense, but it was short term. They might stick with an offense. It really just depends on. This is a brand new ownership too. They have a lot of inexperience right now, so there's a lot of wild card. They could go off the wall with someone completely different. They could go with a guy like EB, or they could just go with an older guy who's been around a while and they want stability. You don't really know.
I would think one name to watch is Steve Wilks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'd love that. I think still Steve Wilks is a name to watch. And I would also say that, like you said, because ownership is new, I would think that George Payton is going to have his ability to be more influential on the hire this time, which means make sure you check out the coaching tree that was under Zimmer and everybody else that was in Minnesota while he was there. So that guys definitely have comfort level with guys that they've worked with in the past. Thank you, though. Great question, Des. And Sif, thank you. Don't get me wrong. I love our rookie corners performance this year, but fan love aside, can our secondary hang in the playoffs? Do they have the skills to do it now that we're approaching the point where they become non-rookies any longer?
Yeah, they do. I think they do. I think you're seeing a really nice level of composure from all the rookies at corner and the ability to come in and be better if someone's fallen behind a little bit. We've seen that with Josh Williams and Jalen Watson, where if someone's having a little bit of an off day or they're getting penalties, the other guy comes in and makes up for it. So they're doing a really nice job of rotating these guys in. They have the talent. I think they're starting to get the confidence too. So I think that they absolutely do, Sif.
Thank you, Seth. And I will say this too. It is about those substitutions and about the calls more than it is the guys at this point. If you let them do what they're good at or what the situation calls for, if it's third and short, you have to guard against the slants. That means you have to put hands to chest plates at least, maybe not to the face mask like you saw with Legarius last week, but you got to let them press. And I think that is something that is more playoff football than it is regular season. Let's just hope that we get there.
Yeah.
Jackson, thank you. Are you guys concerned at all about the offense? It seems like we should be using Sky and Tony much more than we are. Again, this is what I think the overriding concept of Andy Reid and any given offensive game plan is. We need to do enough to make sure we put up points to win. We don't have to bury teams. They do not look to bury teams. And I think a lot of that is we're going to show them a little bit when we need a spark, but we're not going to make our game plans about utilizing these weapons as much as we could.
That's just unfortunate. That's just how it is, man.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah, we'll see. We always have our own concerns. My concern isn't so much the usage, it's the execution. But sometimes that does involve less talented players like MVS and Watson that are playing over some of the younger, less experienced guys. So you might just have some growing pains in that department in terms of execution. We'll see if it holds out for the postseason.
Yeah, agreed. Jonathan, thank you for this one. If money wasn't an issue, who are the 3 free agents at any position you would target heavily in the offseason? I love what you guys do and keep up the great work and amazing content. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Do you have anyone at the top of your list at this point?
If I said that I have looked into the NFL free agent lists for this offseason, I would be a liar. So I'm going to pull up really quickly the spot track free agents. And if you got anybody off the top of your head, I will I'll listen to you.
I'm happy to. I've got a couple of tackles that I would like to see come in and solidify things. One being Mike McGlinchey from the Niners.
Okay.
He's approaching his last big contract. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I think their offense has to tweak a little bit with what they get from CMC over what they've had in the past. So I think especially on the ground, that can be an upgrade over what they have right now. The other guy that I find really, really interesting, but I think he's going to end up back in New England is Isaiah Wynn. a guy that's been underrated, I think, and his move to tackle has been a success for him. But it is very, very specific because the franchise tag and because of the contract situation with Andrew Wiley, both the Chiefs' current starting tackles are free agents after this season.
Yeah, that's very weird. We'll see if they end up wanting Lucas Niang at any stretch, getting him some playing time. Maybe they feel comfortable enough this offseason to let him play. I'm looking a little bit at the defensive side, okay? Because we don't know what safety is going to be, okay? And I understand they've already invested a lot of money at the safety position. Jesse Bates is not going to be in Cincinnati next year, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be there. That's someplace that I'm looking. Again, money not an issue. Jesse Bates immediately makes them a better safety group without Juan Thornhill there, even with Juan Thornhill there. Jesse Bates come in, you can move one to the third, and you could have those two guys start. You could really do whatever you wanted to in that department. I only say Yannick Ngakoue because he's a speed guy off the edge, but we're talking about a rotational guy. He's not a starter. But yeah, I still defensive end is where I'm going to be going. I still think they're going to need a one, and that's no disrespect to George Karlaftis, but he's a very good two. Like I think can be a great two.
Yeah,
but he is a two. I don't think he'll be a one. That's my own opinion. We'll see how that unfolds.
And either of those can upgrade you. And Mike Lester, you brought up a good point. McClinchy has been a penalty machine there, but that's in that offense. I don't think the angular work that he's asked to do in San Francisco is something they'll ask him to do in Kansas City. So I do think there is a bit more of a fit, and he would be able to curb that quite considerably, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, I may have more faith in him than most. That's okay. I don't know that we're going to find out because I'm not sure that he makes it. But
yeah.
Everybody check out what Avery's doing at ADI. I thought you guys dig that one as well. I make sure to check it out. And thank you, Avery. It's Christmas season, but whose specific wish list in the draft could be on day one and day two? I want two of these three offensive tackles, Broderick Jones, Bergeron, and Cody Mock. What do you got?
So I haven't seen Cody right now yet. I don't have any NDSU tape, so it's a little bit harder for me to find. I do like Jones. I also think that his offseason, or excuse me, his postseason might end up ticking his draft stock up a little bit. So I'm not sure he's going to be there. I think Anton Harrison from Oklahoma is going to have a shot to be there around the time that the Chiefs pick. And the Chiefs love themselves some Oklahoma offensive linemen. They breed them well down there, and they also get athletes that can move. He is a great athlete in space. I think he fits exactly what the Chiefs want at left tackle. And he would be able, he'd be more of a Eric Fisher type of player, where maybe he's not going to be that highly drafted, that highly coveted, but he can learn. He's going to be a great athlete. He's just going to have some work to do in the run department and at the point of attack. So I like Anton Harrison right now, around 28, 29-ish.
That's cool. I haven't seen him yet. Jones, I think, has the best footwork of all these guys here, and that's exactly where I was going. They want an athlete on the line, and I think that allows them to recover. I think that's why most people right now would rather them see Eric Fisher back at left tackle than what they have. Yeah. That's why. Am I the only one that doesn't feel like our chances feel good about our chances if we don't get the number one? Seems unlikely we can go through Buffalo and Cincy. I agree with you there, but I will say this. Their own matchups are going to be a bit challenging as well. Remember, just because they both match up well against the Chiefs, and Cincy in particular, doesn't mean that they match up against other teams. They've lost other games. And so everybody's got those kind of matchup tendencies that I don't know that there's anything specific. I don't want to play them both in 1 year, in one playoff run, but you never know.
It's never fun. You never want to. But again, sometimes you have to. You go back to Joe Flacco having to go through the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots. Guess what? He did it on the road. So I think that there are just some times where you got to put your head down and go. This might end up being one of those postseasons. And I do think that they can do it. It's going to come down to the execution and this offense not getting stagnant when defenses change up what they're doing.
Yeah. Folks, we are going to speed up here. We're about 40 questions behind. So last call for super chats and questions. We're 40 minutes in. We're doing last call a little early tonight because I don't have time to go over family here and everything. So let's get after it. Is Andy coaching offensively? coasting offensively, meaning that he's hiding stuff for the playoffs because he knows that they can still win without showing it all. And that's exactly how I would interpret what's going on. Do you agree?
I feel like we always say it, but I never actually know. So we'll find out in the postseason.
That's how I feel, though, Des. You're absolutely right. And thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. You same to you, Quentin. Should this be the Chiefs draft order next year? Left tackle, defensive end, linebacker, running back, preferably the power back, DT, or what is your draft order? Well, I won't have a draft order because you never know what the rest of the league is going to do. I may have a DE that is higher graded on our board and my board in particular, because yes, we put our film grades together. Dan and I will both do them, as will the other guys that help us at Rogue Analytics and NFL 33, but we may have preferences. So I might have a defensive end that's higher than the best left tackle on the board when it comes to the Chiefs pick. Dan might have something different. So it is really going to see how it falls, but those two positions are the top priorities for me. I don't think linebacker is going to be. I think Leo Chanel is their plan for the future third linebacker on this roster. I think that's pretty set in stone, given that he's come along pretty well. I do think DT is higher, certainly than running back as well.
Absolutely. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And I hope the takeaway from Clyde's era in Kansas City is that you don't spend a top 100 on a running back, like I told you when you did it. So let's see if that happens. Come on, Veach. What do you think? Oh, who do you think replaces Hackett in Denver? Some channels here on YouTube are speculating it could be EB. He deserves a head coaching gig, and I completely agree with that. But it would suck facing him twice a year. I see the rumors. It certainly is an easy connection to make. He has a lot of ties back here, not only to that organization, but to Colorado in general. I think it would be a good fit, but as Dan said, when you have Russ and he's not functioning, you do have to do something to correct that, because that is your biggest investment. So I could see them going the opposite direction as well. If EB is here, I don't think it's a problem for a bit, because Russ Wilson is not the Russ Wilson of 2 years ago. Despite my expectation that he could get back there, there's still no competing with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, and that's in the end what's going to limit every team in the AFC West.
I think it's going to be Sean Payton.
Do you? Okay. It'd be really interesting. Maybe a little bit difficult to watch, but it's going to be interesting.
Right.
Hey, Zeus, appreciate your super chat. Will Andy sit Patrick in week 18? It all depends. If the Bengals do upset the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs have it, then I don't think so. I think it is about maintaining that lead.
They have. It won't matter. Andy will. I mean, Patrick will have to play. They can lose week 18 without Patrick. They absolutely can. Yeah. You can't take the last 2 weeks off. You can't. You have to fight and to get that number 1 seed. And if the Bengals do beat the Bills, they have to win week 18. They have to. Exactly.
There is no room for error. We'll see what that contest comes down to. Hopefully that's a topic that we have to talk about. It may not be. Avery had another question. Orlando over the last 7 weeks is one of the top rated OTs according to PFF. Not number 1. If Travis's theory of what that agents pay PFF for some grades is confirmed, do you agree? I cannot confirm that. I have absolutely no information on that. I will tell you that I know multiple people that work for PFF. I've talked to PFF as well about their process in particular. I do not think that agents have that kind of influence. I disagree that Orlando's one of the top tackles, but he has improved. Let's be real about that. It's probably more of a mechanism of the defensive ends, rush ends that he's playing, but it's still on paper a better grade of late.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. He hasn't played the elite speed guys around the end over the last month or so. So he's played better. He also has Joe Tooney next to him now, when he didn't for a couple of games, and it looked a little worse because he couldn't trust the guy to his right. It's pretty much what it comes down to.
It makes things tough when that's the case. Real quick, I'm going to look this up, but what do you think Patrick does with these records?
I still think that the yards is within reach. It is. I think it's 500 over the next 2 weeks, right? That he needs to get.
That's what I'm double checking right now.
I think it's 500 over the next 2 weeks, and that's definitely attainable with Patrick Mahomes. He just has to get 300 in both of these games, and he will get there. So I think he's gonna break it.
Yeah, he's officially at 47.21 right now. I easily think he breaks $5,000. What's the yardage record?
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. Maybe it's 600 that he needs. I don't know.
Scotty, I'll double check that for next week, and we'll have a better idea. But I don't think it's going to be any problem to hit $5,000. He's sitting at 37 touchdowns. I don't think he surpasses even 43 at this point.
So Peyton Manning threw for 5,477. Pat's probably not breaking that record.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have to throw for 700 yards in the next 2 weeks. If that happens, there's bigger problems than the fact that he's getting the record.
Exactly.
So, again, guys, if you want to join the Discord, hit here at bit.ly/RGR Nation. That is the easiest way to get there. Thomas, McColl's injury, could it be more an issue with his spleen than Andy had mentioned about him losing weight? It could be. That part of it is definitely protected medical information. That is HIPAA controlled. If it's a medical condition of that beyond an injury, if it's especially off the field. So I have no way of knowing. Maybe they release that after the season. That is something the Chiefs will keep really close to the vest until that point. Cole, another one of our mods. Welcome back, Cole. Do you think that we did see this one? Okay, sorry.
Yep.
I must have been bopping around today. Any of the players we should watch in the next couple of days for this year's draft? Next couple of days. I got to look at the bowl game schedule.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on the bowl games, but I know that there's a couple of guys this weekend for the semifinals that you guys should watch. You know, we talked about Broderick Jones. He's the offensive tackle at Georgia. There's, unfortunately, Blake Corum is not playing for Michigan, or you can watch him. I think Cornelius Johnson, wide receiver at Michigan, is someone you want to keep an eye on. He has deep speed, someone that could replicate much of what Watson does right now, but obviously younger, more room to grow. There's Marcus Morris, I believe, from Michigan, defensive tackle. There's a lot of guys on Michigan's team to watch. TCU, unfortunately, Quentin Johnston. You're not getting Quentin Johnston. He's going to probably be the number one wide receiver taken. I haven't gotten all the way in on them either. Also, tackles at Ohio State. Both of them are draft eligible.
Absolutely. On the defensive line, Texas plays at 7 p.m. tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Take a look at both those guys. Coburn's like a naughty replacement, like a big one or a nose if they go to a 4-3. I like Amaro better myself, so check him out. There's a corner at SC State, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but check that out. I'll try to tweet that out later tonight or tomorrow for you guys. Ocean, appreciate you. Any players that that was the same question. Yes, if you guys would check out Locked On Chiefs, I'd appreciate that too. Thank you, Aaron. I always forget to mention that. FLDB is in the house. He's running our Discord. Check that out. Knowing McDuffie's amazing awareness of where he is on the field, do you guys think that he has the ability to travel now or in the near future? And Jackson, that's what he showed last week. He is the guy traveling opposite of L'Jarius because you got to have a pair of them. Otherwise, you're stuck. So, yeah, he definitely has that, and he has the ability to become a CB1. It's not going to be much of a question in my mind.
I'm with you there. I love it. I think he really can. I think they could both travel, and that could be helpful for the future.
Yeah. Chris, Gay and Bolton, both Pro Bowl snubs. I think there's an argument to be made for Bolton because of his tackle total. I think Willie's been playing really well, but across the league, there are a number of linebackers that have been playing well as well. It's a lack of the huge plays that I think is what held them back. Again, because Pro Bowl voting is a lot of fans. Let's see what happens with the All-Pros. That might be a different story. What do you think, Watson? Drops were due to cold weather? I don't. At least one of them was underthrown. The other, I want to say, might have been a sun issue, if anything, but I didn't think it was cold related.
He's had drops over the last 3 weeks, so I'm going to go ahead and say it's unfortunately not cold related. Something's just going on there.
Okay, fair enough. If we release Frank, do we sign another defensive end off of free agency? They don't have to release him, Gary. His contract does expire this season. So they will definitely be signing a free agent defensive end. The question is going to be, are they going to sign somebody of a starter caliber, or are they going to continue to backfill with veterans that have experience that they can rotate in and then try to look to draft somebody to go with George Karlaftis? That's going to be the big question for me. Aaron, why Dan? Why Michigan, Dan? Dan is a Michigan native. That's why.
I am. Yeah, I'm a Michigan native. That's where I'm from.
Chris, she should push the pedal on Denver. I don't let up and go on cruise control the rest of the game. I like what happened in Denver. Yeah, I mean, that's what we'd all like to see. Like, leave no doubt. Don't allow a bad team to creep back in on you like they did with this team the last time they played a couple weeks ago. We completely agree with you, Chris. I'm just not holding my breath. I also, and I am obviously not complaining about Mahomes, but why is it either he can't or just never throws a fade to the corner in the end zone? He surely can, right? Yes, he absolutely can. It's just a lower percentage throw. Most of the time, especially in the scramble drill, when he has to break the pocket, it allows his guys to react and they end up like wider open. They're generally, it's hard to say easy. The target has more space around it. It might not end up being an easier throw. Does that track with what you think as well?
You typically want receivers that can create enough separation quickly enough to throw a fade. Or have guys on the outside that can always go up and get the football. MVS can do that, but that's not like his strength. He's not the most consistent guy to go up and get it. They're already low percentage throws to begin with, and Andy Reid doesn't really want to throw low percentage throws. He doesn't want that to be in his offense. So while they've done a better job of throwing back shoulders and some more contested balls this season, end zone fades are like one of the least efficient throws in all of football, and you're not going to see Andy Reid do that very much.
Agreed. I've seen a lot of questions about the bowl games here, folks. We gave you a couple to watch. I'll see what else comes to mind here before we wrap up the show, but I don't have a hard list. Yeah. I'm trying to look here real quick at the schedule for the bowl games. We talked about tomorrow's on Wednesday. Is there anybody high? And there's a lot of games on Wednesday, so be prepared for that. There's a couple of guys out of Tennessee. If the Chiefs do want to go weapon, I think Jalen Hyatt is a guy that could be there. I'm not particularly ecstatic about it, neither is Dan, because he is a bit of a one-trick pony. But at 30 or 32, that is in the range where I think he may creep into the bottom of the first half. So he's a guy to watch. He just, you got to lose him before he goes off. Keep an eye on LSU Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central. BJ Ojulari is there. I don't think Baskerville's coming out. I think he is eligible, but I don't think he's declared. Baskerville is a linebacker safety hybrid that I really, really like, and he has a nose for the ball, so keep an eye on him. Anybody else stand out to you?
Yeah, really. Like I haven't been able to sit down and look at the bowl schedule to really know. And again, I still don't have a comprehensive list of all the draft eligible players.
Yeah, it's an ongoing list. Yeah. Georgia does play at 6 p.m. Wednesday night. Broderick Jones is one of their tackles. Make sure you watch that. Kenny McIntosh, their running back, is another guy to watch, as is Chris Smith, an underrated safety that I really like as a guy that can play the robber role. So keep an eye on him. He has a tendency and a nose for the ball as well. Let's see. J.J. Watt in 2023. I mean, for the sake of JJ, get out of Arizona. Good Lord.
Yeah, please. Jeez.
And if it's cheap, I think if you watch Hard Knocks, you can still see what he brings to the table in terms of leadership and work ethic. And he is very acutely aware that his time in the NFL is winding down rather quickly. So you might get the last best push out of JJ. Yep. I think that's interesting to pair with George Karlaftis. By the way, he's Liberty Bowl. Yes, exactly. The thing that is coming on, too, take a look as they wind up Hard Knocks, what JJ's doing with my guy Cam Thomas, because he's going to start surging here at the end of the season as well. Good evening, Miss Avery. Merry Christmas. She can't hear me, but you look cute, kiddo. Merry Christmas.
Are we doing cameos?
Oh, yeah, we're doing cameos. So, my brother, you see, you picked the wrong time. She's so winning already. See, in fact, we should.
Yes, this is just everything. Everyone wants to see Avery. Isn't that right?
I like the Christmas gear. Is that a new bear too?
Yeah, she got a stuffed animal from my parents. She's actually wearing a ninja costume right now.
Oh, well, like you do at Christmas. Super cute. Nice. Thank you, Miss Avery, for making your appearance and making us all look better. And you, good job. Do you think that the wide receiver room next year, will we draft a wide receiver, keep Juju, keep Hardman? Do we think that we're going to pay two guys in the room this year? I do think Juju comes back. It is an imperative as far as I am concerned with them being able to have continuity to continue to develop Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. I think Hardman might get more money elsewhere, and so he may still get a contract. We'll see. Dan had a good point. Maybe that's slowing down with the injury and everything else, but we're going to find out here pretty quick. Let's see. Thomas, funny that nobody's talking about OBJ since Jerry questioned his health. It's not funny. That's exactly what Jerry meant for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But it seems, though, because there's no smoke anywhere else, Jerry will do that to try to throw everyone else off, but there doesn't seem to be anybody else interested either. So this one may be factual things coming out of Jerry Jones's mouth. Every now and then it happens. Klein family, thank you for your support. We love that you're here on the channel, so thank you. Chris, how much does it cost to keep Juju? It's going to be a fresh contract. We might be approaching 10. I don't know.
We're talking
annually.
Probably 10, 12, I think. I think that's the market you're looking at. Again, it's one season. It's in Kansas City. I think people take a discount on that elsewhere. So I think 10 to 12 per is what you're looking at.
Yeah. Okay. So we're in the same thing. I hope that it doesn't get to that point, but you never know. All right, folks, we are keeping it going. We're going to wind up these last 20 that are in the bag. If you have a super chat, you better get it in because I'm going to have to sign off. And you know how I feel about hitting those things late. So please. Do you think the Bengals can hold off the Bills Sunday? I actually don't, but I hope that they do.
I absolutely think that they can because I think that the defense is that good.
Okay, rock and roll. Let's hope you're right. Offseason crush, either free agent trade or in draft. Mine is D. Hopkins. Well, Patrick, I like that. And for Nuke's sake, get him out of there too. Good Lord. I don't have a crush currently. I really haven't looked at the list yet. I'm focused on what we're doing. Do you have anybody in particular, Dan, that you're hoping?
Not really for free agency. Again, I haven't done a ton. And from what I've seen, the market isn't huge, but I do like the idea of Tony Pollard in Kansas City. If money weren't an issue, it would be a nice little fit, in my opinion. I'll
tell you one guy that's not going to be, and that's Tom Brady. So hey, there you go. Let me make that clear. I'm glad surgery went well for you, Sean. Welcome back. I hope you're feeling as well as you sound. Do we expect the Broncos to come out and fight with more fire than normal? I think that they might.
Yeah.
A lot of times a coaching change gives a team a surge of adrenaline. Let's see what happens. Darius, thank you for your support, buddy. After seeing Sky's wiggle on Saturday, I'm sure he'll break out at some point. What does he unlock in this offense if defenses have to plan for him? What's your takeaway on that?
He's a man beater. He can beat man coverage, and that's one thing that you see the Chiefs struggle with at times. Still, on third down, teams will play, especially third and long, they'll play man coverage, and they'll rush 4, maybe bring a 5th. And a lot of times they'll get to Patrick, and Sky can beat man coverage. Also, if you blitz, he's a guy you can make a hot receiver, and you can make somebody miss and get you a first down. That's something that they don't have all the time without their speed guys on the field. So I do think that they need to let him be a man beater more often. He's not getting the reps he needs, and I'm with you, Darius.
Here's what it is for me. What he brings together with McCole Hardman adds up to Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, because of the change of direction. But you take McCole out of it, you still have guys underneath that can get loose. And here's the thing. You might have one guy that can match up with Sky and his elusiveness and short area quickness underneath consistently. It's very rare to have two guys that can do that. And with Tony and Sky, somebody's going to be open versus man. And quite frankly, against most zones, unless you have the most athletic linebackers in the league, one of those guys is going to be open every play. And that gives Patrick outlets that can make yardage.
Exactly.
That's my big thing. Chris, if EB leaves, who takes over as offensive coordinator? That is one Matt Nagy.
Yes, sir.
Not going to be much of a transition at all. Hey, Eric, have a good one, Matt. Welcome to your new office. That's the way that's going to go. Williams' physical style of play will be good in the playoffs, don't you think? If the playoffs and refs let the guy play more.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is exactly what happens, is a lot of things get turned up in terms of what they will allow. Obviously, we're going to have to pay attention to who the crews are. But, yes, I think Josh Williams he's in a good spot right now. Do you think that Clyde will get playing time when he returns from injured reserve? He definitely will. I don't know how much, and I don't know with how much priority, but he will play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kenneth, did you see during timeouts that Mahomes was talking to Nagy on plays and not EB? Yes, absolutely. Because right then, it's about Nagy helping him understand what he's seeing. Yes, he is coordinating the pass game, but that's more on Patrick than is the receivers. Whereas EB is managing the whole offense and obviously communing with Andy more directly. So that doesn't surprise me, Ken. But that's, again, these guys they're not interchangeable, but they are a conveyor belt of offensive play calling. So it will be Nagy. Tyler, are you concerned at all about the seeming regression in the run game last week, or just chalk it up to general offensive struggles in second and third quarters? in terms of yards per carry, I didn't think it was a big step back. I think that's mostly situational. So I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, they just kind of went away from it at times, and that's Andy's normal tendency, just kind of lean away from it at times. But you saw it open up the passing game on multiple occasions. So we'll see. We shall see.
We definitely will. Okay, you guys, I see a couple more super chats are in. Thank you guys very much. I'll get those stacked, and we will hit those as we run out the door. We are almost there. Let's see, Christian. Oh, but didn't have a question from you. I'm sorry, Christian. Hit me again.
Appreciate you, Karen.
You did have a question. Thank you for the support. But I didn't see anything under it. I may not be able to scroll that fast. That was 20 minutes ago. Are you surprised that DK and it got his product on against the Chiefs?
His production on? Just
not
production
at all.
Against the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, that didn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm actually pleased that they held him under 100 yards and no score.
Yeah, just as long as they don't beat him deep. I don't care. I don't care what happens.
Yeah. Legeri's giving up passes doesn't bother me. It's just the fact that you can keep it from being something that breaks you. Yeah. Everybody's got a number one player. He's theirs. What's the chance that you give Bolton beats DJ's tackling record? That's a great question. In terms of year to year, he's ahead. But we're talking about longevity that is hard to achieve in this league, so I'm not ready to project that yet.
Yeah, we'll wait until maybe year 4, and then we'll revisit the conversation.
That is a good time for that. I like it. Christian, there we go. Thank you again for the super chat. Does Hardman's absence show his value to the team for a future contract? And is he the missing piece that will propel us in the playoffs? He's one of them. Mm-hmm. And it does give you, I think, like Dan said, I think it was the post game, Dan, that you said that maybe he actually has a better chance returning now that they've seen life without him.
That's what I said. And I do think that makes a lot of sense that they know that they can't just plug and play without speed guys. They do have a problem right now in this offense without McCole Hardman, and they did to an extent without Kadarius Toney. That's why he's in Kansas City. It's just what it is. But they do have a lot of small guys. If they bring back Hardman, they'll have Sky, they'll have Hardman, they'll have Toney. I know Toney's 6 foot, but I think that they're trying to work as best they can with a big wide receiver room of a lot of different bodies. So I do think Hardman might end up back in Kansas City just based on that.
I love the concept. If it's affordable, keep your homegrown players. I like that.
I love it.
Thank you, Christian. Appreciate you. Brady, longtime viewer, first-time chatter. Cheers. My girlfriend and I are going to KC for my first Chiefs game. Well, congrats. Have a blast. Get there a few hours early and stroll around the parking lot. I think you'll like what you find. Any advice on how early to get an Uber and any places to visit? I have never Ubered to a Chiefs game, so I have no concept.
I have not either. I've always driven myself.
He drives me all the time. I will say this. The Freight District Jack Stack, Dan has friends there. Go visit them. I still haven't been to Slaps. We're going to fix that soon, but go there.
Got to do that.
Q39, it seems to be on everybody's hot list. It's definitely a different experience, but it's worth it. That's just the places to eat.
Yeah, right. There's Union Station's always nice place to go visit. I mean, it's a little cold right now. I mean, it might not be this weekend. I forget. It's going to be like 60-something this week. So I don't know. It's going to be a crazy temperature difference. So lots of different places to go. Again, the food is probably going to fill up most of your schedule. So make sure you time accordingly. I usually try to get to the game about 2 to 3 hours early at the latest.
Check out the World War I Museum Memorial and the Nelson Atkins for art. There's some things around town that'll actually expand your horizons as well. I hear this anyway.
Culture.
Yes, right. The Science Museum's always fun. That's at Union Station, right? Yeah. So the Kids Science Museum, they'll love that.
Yeah, love it.
Science City. Yes, thank you. Okay. Which underperformer do you think is most likely to end up back in KC next year? Frank Clark, Orlando Brown Jr., or someone else? For me, it's going to be OBJ.
Most likely is OBJ.
Okay. And that's only, Brett, because you have to look at the field. And if you don't have an upgrade, I think it's smart for the Chiefs to reinvest in another franchise tag year. 2
tackles were locked up that were going to be free agents last week. So that hurt their chances of moving on.
Yeah. Doug, welcome back. A little late, Doug? But Modfather, a.k.a. God is Holly and TPT. Welcome. Glad you made it back, Doug, and hope you had a good holiday. Ocean, thank you. Y'all are the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot about football the past 3 years.
That's the goal.
Cheers.
That's
glad
the goal.
that you're here. Yeah,
I
honestly,
love
that's
it.
why we do this. Honestly, if we just wanted to talk to each other, we would just do that.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
And sometimes
we share what we see. So thank you for being here, Caroline, and I'm glad that you did. Thomas, Chiefs recognized Frank's contract, renegotiated it, yes, and is $14 million-ish to cut or $14 million-ish to keep. They renegotiated. I didn't think they put an extra year on it.
I didn't think they did either. I think this is the last year of his contract.
I'm going to check that while Dan answers this next one.
All righty, let's do it. Will we see of Melvin Gordon? Corey, thank you for the question. I do think he might be activated for the postseason if CH comes back and they decide that they want to maybe inactivate. Actually, don't they get more spots for the playoffs? I don't remember. No, they don't. Whatever. Maybe Ronald Jones gets deactivated and maybe they bring in Melvin Gordon. That's what I think can happen. But if you don't see him activated for the postseason, yeah, I don't think you're going to see him down the stretch here.
Yeah. So going back, Thomas, what they did is they restructured it, putting $20.5 million into Frank's base salary next year, plus a $7.475 bonus.
Oh,
there's no way that he sees that. You save $21 million by cutting him. It is going to happen. So yeah, it's not close. And kudos to Frank for what he's done in reshaping his body and performing better this year. I don't think it's enough to save his tenure in Kansas City. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. How about the Dante Hall comeback juke from Sky Moore? Loved it. Hey, if you can watch film and you can pick up skills without actually practicing with the guy that actually did it, more power to you.
That's great.
I can't do that with podcasts, Travis Kelce. But that's just the way that it goes. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you. Lil Caddy, thank you as well. Do you all think if Tuli Pelotu, is a closet Carlos Dunlap or Chris Jones in terms of pro position? I have trouble seeing that. He doesn't have the length of either of those guys, but he's a heck of a motor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, the other guy that you may have seen the other night is Tavai from San Diego State. Another guy with a heck of a motor that has great strength, that has more explosion than he looks like. They just don't have the length. And in the league, it's hard to hold up without length.
Yeah, I think he projects closer to a Chris Jones type in terms of position play, 3-tech, interior defensive tackle. He's not going to be a guy you can probably play on the defensive end. He's a bit bigger too. He's closer to 290, 300 pounds, I think. So yeah, he's probably projected more along the lines of a defensive tackle in the next level.
I'll tell you, another guy to keep a look at from Pac-10 is Jeremiah Martin. He is the other guy behind Zion Fatui, who I cannot pronounce his last name because I don't have it in front of me to read it. So check out two guys from Washington as well. And we have one more question, and we're going to wrap it up. I just do want to say one more time before we get to that. Merry Christmas and enjoy your holidays. Stay safe between now and New Year's. We're going to have a lot of content this week, not necessarily our normal volume, but we're going to have a bunch of pieces. We're waiting on all 22 all the way around. So we'll
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is what it is. But thank you, Little Caddy, and everyone else. Red Royce, I agree with you. Mahomes for MVP for sure.
Let's go.
I'm with you. And last from Red as well, Dan, how many targets did this guy get this week?
What I like to see, I like to see at least 5 targets for Sky Moore this week. I think that needs to happen. I don't even think that it's like what's the word? Like a pleasure. What's the word? I'm losing my mind right now. I don't think it's like preference. No, I'm just going to lose myself here. I can't think of the word. It's not something that you can just kind of be like, whatever. It's something that has to happen, in my opinion.
It's got to be a plan.
To get 5 targets.
I'd like to see 4-4-4 for He, Hardman, and Tony.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think, honestly, with the same number of volume, I'd like to see what each of them can do with it. It'd be a nice.
Yes, Holly, luxury. Thank you, Holly. Yes, it's luxury. That's the word.
That's why she's here. Guys, if you want some of this stuff, make sure you check out the store. You can find it over here. It's rgr-store.creator-spring.com. It's in the link. It's easier that way. It's also all over my social media, so you can find it that way. Again, use the 7AFCW code to get a nice discount. And you members, yours starts next here in 2 days. You'll get your special one as well. Last super chat of the night. It's in pounds. So welcome for you guys watching in the UK. Cheers. Let's see. Trent McDuffie should keep playing in the slot. He's good there. Seed is not that great in the slot, except for the blitz. But he's a beast on the outside. Now, I don't want to butcher your name, so I'm going to go with Christian because I can make that out. A, thank you for supporting the channel, but B,
yes, thank you.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think L'Jarius's size in terms of his length and height sometimes put him at a disadvantage. There's a reason why people always categorize guys as nickels because they're smaller. I think this case, it actually hurts Snead a little bit, and I like McDuffie in there.
I don't disagree either. I just think that McDuffie's too talented to keep in the slot. But again, that could also be he's on the outside in base and the slot otherwise. But I would also just like to see him on the outside with Snead and draft another nickel. I don't know. That's what I'd like to see. But then they drafted 2-3 corners this past year, so it's a tough spot that they're in. But I mean, that's what I would like to do. But it's nice to have two guys that can play in the slot for sure. It makes things so much easier on your corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to have interchangeability. Again, thank you, Christian. Hello to everybody in the UK and Ireland. Hope you guys are doing well and hope you had a great Christmas. And for everyone else, Kenneth summed it up very nicely. Happy Christmas Merry Christmas to everyone and Happy New Year. Be safe. We'll have more for you tomorrow and following. Thanks for the time. And Dan, thanks for taking time away from Avery and the cuteness.
Of course, Joe. This is what we do. I'm glad we've got some people learning more about football. That is the goal. And thank you all so much for the support. We really do appreciate it.
Have a great night. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.